Have you ever reached a goal only to immediately feel like it wasn't quite enough? You finish the project, you hit whatever milestone you wanted to finish, right? You clean the room, you improve your routine, and instead of granting yourself rest, your mind quietly says, okay, what's next? I've been wondering when that became normal. When in our society did that become a normal way of thinking? Welcome back to the Loose Threads and Stitches podcast. I'm Kristen with ICStarsQuilting.com, and today we are going to continue the Enough chapter, which is our limited series exploring growth, identity, and the quiet hum of more in a modern life. So last week we talked about the atmosphere of improvement, how we live surrounded by messaging that highlights possibility. Okay, today I want to sit with something related but slightly different. When did enough start feeling like a moving target? If you are enjoying this little limited series that we're doing on here, make sure that you are following this podcast so you don't miss the next episode. And if these conversations resonate with you, maybe expand your thinking a little bit, sharing them with someone that you care about is always appreciated. So, okay, all right, let's talk about the moving target. There's something subtle that happens over time. Benchmarks in life shift. What once felt impressive becomes normal feeling. What's once felt organized becomes standard. What once felt productive becomes expected. Think about like parenting expectations for a moment. Think about work rhythms. Think about fitness goals. Think about creativity. The bar doesn't just rise on its own, okay? It seems to accelerate. And often we don't even notice it happening. We just feel slightly behind. And when that target moves faster than we can comfortably adapt to, it's easy to think, I should be the one that's keeping up. But what if the pace itself has changed over time? What if the expectations are evolving more quickly than they used to? Not because anyone is attacking us per se, all right? We did talk a little bit about marketing last week and how it is kind of designed to constantly push us a little bit, because without that need for more, we don't want to improve, right? We don't want that extra step. If we're complacent where we are, we don't want that extra step. And it's not because we've failed, okay? It's because in a fast-moving environment, innovation becomes the baseline very quickly. And we are in a very fast-moving world, okay? Something that felt exceptional and wild 5 years ago can quietly become the norm and the average in today's world. And when that happens often enough, we may start to feel like we're never actually getting anywhere. We're never actually arriving. And I see this in creativity too, okay? There was a time when finishing something handmade felt complete in and of itself, okay? Now we document it, we photograph it, we share it, we refine it, we improve it, we compare it to other hashtags with the same exact pattern. You know, none of that is wrong, by the way. I don't want to say that in any or give that impression in any way. None of it is wrong, but the internal experience has shifted. Completion can start to feel like a performance, okay? And performance rarely feels finished, right? Because performances can always be judged, they can always be tweaked, they can always be improved. And I think this may be why rest feels harder for a lot of us now, because even when we reach something, our mind is scanning for the next level. Like, what can I do to level up now? I've finished this, I've completed this. What can I do next? And it's not because we're ungrateful, okay? It's not because we're greedy, But because we have been accustomed to anticipating what's the next step, okay? What's next? Anticipation keeps things moving, but movement doesn't always allow for stillness, okay? I have felt this in myself my entire life, all right? You accomplish something and it's great. And before you even sit with it, your brain looks at you and says, how could this be better next time? And sometimes you can like, change it to be self-reflection, self-improvement, all of that. But, the growth mindset is a beautiful thing until it quietly turns into permanent dissatisfaction. Yeah, tell me if that is not something that you've struggled with in your life, just like not ever quite satisfied where you are. Okay, there is a difference between evolving and never actually arriving. There is, and I think that it's not an easy thing to decipher, and it's not an easy thing to figure out in your life. And here's something that I find grounding. I want to share this with you. A quilt doesn't change its requirements halfway through. Okay, the pattern doesn't suddenly double its expectations of you anymore from the moment that you bought it until the moment that you're working on it. The project doesn't shift the finish line like mid-stitch, okay? It has edges, it has completion, and it has an end. And when it's done, it's done, okay? There's something steadying about that, and a clear finish line is something that you can take some comfort in, right? So let's think about this for a second. So maybe part of what feels exhausting to you, and to me too, remember, I'm talking to myself too, it isn't personal failure. Maybe it's living in the time where benchmarks move silently. They move very quietly, and most of the time without us even realizing that they're shifting, okay? Where our expectations evolve quickly, where good upgrades to better without much warning, okay? And when we understand that, when you really truly understand that, you can soften your own expectations, okay? We stop assuming the ache of not enough automatically means that we are defective, that we aren't doing enough. Sometimes it simply means that the target has moved. And if you are aware of that, sometimes that just lessens that pressure and that burden of being defeated on your own personality and on your own self. And that, man, that like lightens the load on your shoulders, okay? So I want to leave you with a gentle question this week, and you're welcome to answer down in the comments. Let me know what it is that you are thinking about with this. And it is, what if enough isn't a moving target, but a decision? What if finishing isn't something that you earn, but something that you choose, right? You are allowed to grow. You are absolutely allowed to improve. You are also allowed to decide when you feel finished and when you feel done, and what good enough is good enough, okay? So think on that for a little bit this week, and let me know what your thoughts are on that. Next week, we're going to explore kind of why humans are wired to chase moving targets in the first place. And this part gets really fun and interesting for me, so I may geek out a little bit on you next time. But I think it's really important to learn, like, the psychology behind it, the science behind it, like why we are the way that we are. Because the more that you understand yourself, the more that you can see those patterns, and you start to become a whole lot more comfortable with who you are and give yourself grace where you need grace, right? So until next week, maybe you're allowed to pause. Just a thought, all right? So I will see you next time. I'm Kristen with ISeeStarsQuilting.com. Please make sure that you are following my channel on YouTube. And thank you so much for listening to the Loose Threads and Stitches podcast. I love this time with you. I love just sitting down and sharing things with you, getting to have these conversations and open up these lines of communications where we're just talking about creativity. We're just talking about how our minds work and digging deeper into the mind of a beautiful, wonderful creative. So I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Bye.